Hi. So I want us to take a look at research and you, specifically using the COVID 19 as an example as we go through looking at research. So when we think of research, we think of it as almost a mythical concept that has a little to do with us. And yet, research is an integral part of society. More specifically, it is an integral part of our lives. In support of this concept, I want us to take a look at our current pandemic, COVID 19. Firstly, there is much debate about the coronavirus. Some said it was engineered in a Chinese lab, while others have offered different views as to how the virus came about. Nonetheless, this we know for sure. In response to the virus, scientists have taken to the lab to conduct research as to the virus. This research has led to the construction of timelines, maps, and charts, all pointing to additional knowledge on the virus. In conducting research on the disease, one of the first things that become operative is for scientists to find out how the disease started or the etiology of the disease. This may take them out of the lab into the community, or it may take them into archived informational sources, or they may simply do surveys or questionnaires in an attempt to answer the question, what is the etiology of the disease? The next thing we want to know during the research is who is affected by the issue. Who is affected by the issue being researched, and to what degree are they affected? In the case of the coronavirus, we saw that the impact was far reaching. And while everyone was impacted to some degree or other, we saw that some were disproportionately impacted more than others. For example, those in urban areas were impacted more than those in the suburbs. Minorities were more impacted than their white counterparts. Those who were less affluent were more impacted than those who were more affluent. And those who already had a predisposed illness was more impacted than those who enjoyed good health. In terms of its implication, we saw short-term as well as long-term implications as we look at changes to sporting events, travel, or financial markets, and especially healthcare. Not to mention education. I remember when I lived in Japan, it was the custom for the Japanese to wear masks. As an American coming into this culture, I could not understand why every single person on the road wore masks. And now, in our own culture here in the United States, and actually globally, we see masks as now one of the common things that we see people wearing. In addition to that, I think many of us used to think that the concept of washing our hands was a suggestion. And now we realize that the concept of washing our hands is a necessity. And so we've seen dramatic changes in society as a result of the pandemic. In wrapping up, we see that a recent pandemic produced a perfect example of how research is an invaluable tool in society.